one, you figure something out. Just a little piece of information that usually is important somewhere else in the timeline. But definitely some of them are more important than others. Oops, I didn't read that. I might as well have been talking to a wall.
My apologies, Sigma, but I need to think on something for a bit. I would appreciate being left alone.
I'll be leaving too. Things are getting a little too intense here for my delicate constitution. Sorry.
Deal.
Well, in that case...
Yeah, 2-5.
Sorry.
Without another word, she turned and left the warehouse. Dio and Kay quickly followed suit.
See? There's your answer. In the end, everyone's just thinking about themselves. So I would appreciate it if you could not treat me like I'm the only villain here. Come on, Clover. Let's go.
Hold on! I'm coming! Are you feeling okay? I was really worried, you know?
Watched him walk away. Clover practically jumping with delight to have Alice back. Before long, they reached the yellow door and disappeared beyond it. Clover's acting like one of those little... like from the Looney Tunes cartoons. The little dog...
Everyone's gone.
Bouncing around the big bulldog. You aren't going to leave too?
No.
Are you sure? I chose Betray.
I know. But I still believe in you, Sigma. I think your hand must have just slipped or something. Right?
Right, my hand slipped. My chest hurt, and when I blinked, I felt something hot and wet prick the corners of my eyes. Oh no, I bit my lip. Before I could think of anything to say, the metallic rumble of the doors closing echoed through the warehouse.
The Ambidex gates have closed. Round 3 of the Ambidex game will be the Star Round. Star keys are required to open the gates. There is no set limit on usage of the Star keys. The Ambidex gates can be opened as many times as the players wish to open them.
As many times as we want, huh?
Yes, as long as we have the star keys. That means we can keep playing the AB game over and over, too. Sigma? Could you show me your bracelet? Do you remember what Zero Jr. said?
As soon as the gates close, your colors get all shuffled up automatically. The pair and solo assignments hop around a bit, too.
Aww. Yeah, I remember. Let's see here. Cyan pair. What about you?
I'm a magenta pair.
I wonder what the others are.
They could be anything, I suppose. We won't know until we have a look.
That's true. We've got about an hour and 20 minutes until the next set of chromatic doors. So what should we do now?
Everyone else has gone off on their own.
Yeah, physically and emotionally. I really don't like how this is going. It won't matter how many times we repeat the AB game if nobody trusts anybody else. I'll never be able to get out of here.
Maybe it would help if we all had a common goal. Something to unite our hearts and minds.
Yeah, but we've already got something like that. We all want to get out of here. That seems like a pretty clear goal to me, but everybody chose Betray. Including me.
Well, what if we have an enemy?
An
Yes.
enemy.
A common foe. Like the person who set the bombs, for instance.
After coming back from the lab, I told her about the bomb while she gave Alice and Quark the Excalibur. That might work. If we can figure out which one of us planted those bombs, then everyone else would work together against them.
Right.
But how do we figure out who it is?
Well, do you have any clues?
Clues, huh? That's right. The memory card. Pulled it out of my pocket and held it out toward her.
What's this?
Told you, a memory card. It was under the bomb we found in the lab. I think whoever set the bomb dropped it.
Really?
Yep. I don't know what's on it though. We couldn't find any kind of memory card reader.
Oh. I guess we can't really use it then. Oh. Wait a second.
The TV in
You
the
know what? I
infirmary?
think I might have seen something. Yes, I remember. The infirmary. I saw it when I was searching the infirmary with Dio and Quark. There was a memory card just like that one. Yes. I think we can see what's on it. The computer there should be able to read it.
What are we waiting for? On delay. Then and I exploded into the infirmary, nearly running into Alice, Clover, and Tenmyoji. Quark was there as well, of course, but he was just as we left him, asleep on the bed.
What are you doing here?
Opened my mouth to retort, then thought better of it. I just punch her, get it over with. I opened my mouth to retort, then thought better of it. If I really wanted people to start trusting each other, well, real change starts at home. Yeah, that's what I heard about the kind of like the endings where one of them is no longer canon because of, I guess, probably rewrites with Zero Time Dilemma. As quickly as I could, I explained the second bomb and the memory card. How do we come to the infirmary in hopes that we could discover the contents of the latter?
Okay.
Then stick it in already!
Go ahead.
Just as I said, there was a small slot under the screen, exactly the right size for the memory card. I was going to walk on past what Clover's comment. Within moments, the screen was filled with what appeared to be random letters. Oh, that sucks.
6 rows, 22 letters each.
It looks like the odd rows use one set of letters, and the even rows use another set. In other words, the first 2 rows just repeat. Yeah.
Is this some kind of code or something?
It doesn't look random to me. I think there might be a pattern. I just don't know what it is.
Was there anything else on there? No, it doesn't look like it.
So all we get is this gibberish. Hey, Alice, you haven't said anything for a while. What's up?
Does any of this look familiar to you, Clover?
What do you mean?
Have you seen something like this before? Maybe during your training?
This is...
So you do recognize it.
All right, knock it off, you two. How about you share it with the rest of the class?
out aside and stretched her neck from side to side.
I believe this is an encoded message from a terrorist organization.
What?
They call themselves the Myrmidons.
Myrmidons. For some reason, I feel like I'd heard that name before.
What are the Myrmidons?
Put simply, they're a bunch of thugs who are trying to destroy or dismantle most of human civilization.
So this thing we're looking at, you think it's theirs?
Well, they have a number of different codes, but I do think this is one of them.
Then the bomb? It was set by one of the Myrmidons, wasn't it?
Yes. Well, I can't say for sure, of course, but it seems likely.
Damn. I've got a ton of questions for you. But I hate you, so I'm not going to ask them. What the heck does that thing say?
I don't know. How am I supposed to decode it? I don't have the key. Without a key, it would take literally hundreds of years to decode.
What about you, Clover?
Well, if Alice doesn't know how, I sure don't.
See.
Not much we can do then. We can come back to that code stuff later. I've got another question. Alice, Clover, who the hell are you? What do you know about this code?
That's...
You told me your job was to eliminate enemies of the state or something like that. Just wait for her to say that it was confidential. I think it's time you told us what you do.
Sorry, but I can't.
Why
Because
not?
you might be one of them. You might be the person who set the bomb.
That's idiotic. Of course I'm
Really?
not.
And where's your proof? For all I know, you're my enemy. I can't tell you anything.
And even if I was, why not just kill me? I'm your friend. I just want all of us to get out of here. Just please tell us. Please. We need to find out who did this so we can all escape. But we have too little information. We need your help. Fine, if you won't tell us about yourself, then just tell us about the Myrmidons. What else do you know about them?
I'm sorry.
Seriously. Before I could blink, she leapt up and ran out the room. Hey, wait, Alice. I took off after her.
How long are you going to keep following me?
So you tell me what you know.
Then why don't you just ask Clover? You
Clover?
already know she works with me.
Well, yeah.
Then why don't you...
Want to hear it from you.
Why?
That's a good question. Remember the crew quarters? Or this garden? We got paired up for 2 separate rounds. That means I've spent more time with you than anybody else here. Maybe that's it. I guess I'm just curious about you.
What are you talking about?
You spun around to hide it, but I caught a blush of red on her cheeks. We walked down the path to where it ended next, to the pond. I stayed silent. Alice sat down on the bench. We gazed at the smooth surface of the pond for several long minutes before she began to speak.
You don't hate me?
What? Why?
I tried to kill you.
You mean in the AB game?
Yes. I was so scared. Who wouldn't be? Kidnapped and locked up, forced to play some sort of bizarre game. And then we found that bomb. I know I probably sounded calm, but as soon as we found that thing, all I wanted to do was run away from it as fast as I could. Things just went downhill from there. I remember hearing that Quark had collapsed and running to the infirmary with everyone else. When I got there, I realized I couldn't understand what anyone was saying. And everything looked... I don't know how to describe it. It was like watching a video on fast forward, only it was real. Then I started to feel like... It's hard to explain. I guess you could say I didn't feel like I was myself, and it only got worse.
That was probably Radical 6.
Yes, I think so. I don't remember much after that. But when I woke up in the infirmary, suddenly all that fear was back. So all I could think about was getting out of this place as fast as I could. It never even crossed my mind that it could kill you. God help me, even if it had, I don't think I would have cared. See?
Oh, that's
I'm horrible.
reassuring.
You hate me, don't you? Just do it!
What?
Kill me!
Do what?
Get it over with!
What the hell, Alice? I'm not going to kill you. I don't even hate you.
You're lying! I could have killed you. I would have killed you.
Yeah, Raph, I actually heard that sometimes it's actually hard to get your account moved from device to device with Nintendo. I mean, some people, they have no problem, and others, it's like a real pain in the butt. Single tear rolled down Alice's cheek. Then another, leaving shining lines across her face. When I reached out, I saw her tense just slightly. Slowly, I brushed my thumb across her cheek and off, taking her tears with it.
Why are you doing this? You know, you kind of remind me of my father.
That's who you were after, right? The people who killed your dad?
Yes.
Did he have anything to do with the Myrmidons?
Will you promise not to tell Clover that I cried?
Come on.
If you keep your mouth shut, I'll tell you what you want to know. About myself. And about the Myrmidons. Deal?
Sure. My lips are sealed.
Really?
What? Crying? I don't remember any crying.
Good. All right then.
Alice took a deep breath and began. My father is Egyptian, but my mother is French. They met when my mother was in Egypt on vacation and married shortly thereafter. When I was 3, we all moved to the US. Now remember, this was probably about a couple thousand years ago when she was an Egyptian goddess and frozen. My father was a scientist, and his field was cloning. He was recruited by an American lab, which was why we moved. Both of my parents had used English around me from the time I was born, so I didn't have any problems adapting to life in the United States. By my 9th birthday, we'd been there for 6 years. That was when it happened. In the middle of the day, my mother showed up at school. Her eyes were red and puffy, but she didn't say anything to me on the drive home. When we arrived, there were several policemen there to meet us. My father had always been a very punctual man, and when dinner time came and went, with no sign of him, even I began to realize something terrible had happened. It wasn't until several years later that I finally learned the truth. My father's lab had been attacked by terrorists, and he had been kidnapped. For the rest of my childhood, my mother raised me by herself. I didn't realize it then, but it must have been incredibly difficult for her, as a single mother alone in a country where any relatives were a transatlantic flight away. She did her best not to let me see it, but every so often when she thought she was alone, the mask would fall away, and in every line of her face, I could see exhaustion and loneliness. As much as I miss my father, it was those moments that made me wish more than anything that he'd never been taken. Fortunately, I was an excellent student and did especially well in math. I earned a full ride scholarship straight out of high school and spent the next several years studying. After graduation, I took a job with the Department of Defense, hoping that they might have the resources to help me look for my father. I was immediately assigned to the Special Office of Internal Security. Their purpose is to investigate and sometimes deal with terrorists, organizations, and other serious threats to the state. I could tell my mother wasn't happy about my decision, but she chose to remain silent about it. Eventually, I learned that the terrorist organization that had taken my father was none other than the Myrmidons, though at the time that name didn't mean anything to me. They're suspected of human cloning. Specifically, it was thought that they had been using cloning techniques to copy their most useful members and expand their ranks. I mean, to be fair, if you're going to clone anybody in your secret evil organization, I think cloning the most useful of those people is probably the best idea. The Myrmidons apparently believed that they could use cloning to create a new race of humans. Now, at last, I knew the reason for my father's abduction. The commander of the Myrmidons is a man named Left. Very original. We know his name and his gender, but not his appearance or his age. The Myrmidons are closely associated with a cult known as Free the Soul. We believe that Free the Soul provides their funding. But trying to pin any kind of misdeeds on the cult's leader, a man named Brother, is like trying to nail Jello to a wall. Brother is supposed to be fairly advanced in years, and rumors say he's so old he can't even get out of bed. Unfortunately, his mind seems to be as sharp as ever. At that point, I hit a wall. I knew the Myrmidons had been behind my father's kidnapping, but that was all I could learn about them. Then, one day, I got a tip that some of them were hiding in a building in the Nevada desert. I headed out immediately. On the way there, my car had some engine trouble and stalled out. I was trying to decide what to do when an SUV appeared out of nowhere. I'll give you one guess, it was behind the steering wheel. Some brat named Clover. That was the first time we met. There were 4 other people in the car with her, and when I asked them what they were doing, I got what was just about the last answer I expected. Really, there was only 4? I guess it's 5, 6, 7. I feel like there should have been more people in the car. They told me they'd been locked up inside of the very building I'd been on my way to investigate, but they were currently in pursuit of the people who had kidnapped them in the first place. Right, and that's what I thought. So if you take 8 people, because one guy got blown up, so 8 people minus the 2 is 6. Clover driving, and she said +4. But I guess Ace was in the trunk, so maybe she didn't know he was there. This is my only thought. My priorities shifted very quickly. After a short discussion, I convinced them to allow me to come along. My hope was to find the people they were chasing, who I was certain were Myrmidons. In the end, however, we were unable to track them down. In fact, I still don't know where they might have gone. Yes, actually I am planning on getting, so far I have gotten all of them. And one thing I can show you real quick is that I am actually missing an archive in the lounge. But other than that, I have gotten the gold files in all the escape rooms so far. Eventually I took Clover and her companions to SOIS headquarters. We decided that involving the police would only complicate things. After some questioning, it was determined that the people who had instigated this particular event were not connected to the Myrmidons. We did, however, discover that the mysterious disappearance and subsequent reappearance of several children 9 years prior was connected to Free the Soul. There was also a 6-person in an SUV, although they weren't riding in it per se. Oh, here we go. A middle-aged man, who I'll just call H for now, had been bound and placed in the trunk. According to the other 4, he had been behind the disappearance of the children 9 years earlier. We also learned that his pharmaceutical company, a major player on the world stage, was effectively controlled. Hey, thanks for the follows, hey Chrono. Was effectively controlled by Free the Soul. More specifically, I suppose, H was a member of Free the Soul and very committed to their cause. So why had he kidnapped all those children? Apparently it had been part of an experiment designed to test the ability of certain people to access what's called the morphogenetic field. I don't imagine you've ever heard of it before, so I'll try and give you a quick rundown. No, Clover told us, we know about it. Simply put, these people can access a sort of field that allows their consciousness to resonate with the consciousness of certain other people. To be honest, it might be simpler to just call it telepathy, although not quite the same. That's why I had heard of this particular ability before and had actually used it in a number of investigations, so I wasn't surprised to learn of its existence. I was shocked, however, to learn that these experiments had been carried out by a member of Free the Soul. If that was the case, then Brother must have known about it. The thought of him discovering a way to control and harness that power was terrifying. It wasn't too long after the incident in Nevada that another tip about the Myrmidons crossed my desk. This time, it claimed that the Myrmidons intended to launch a large-scale biological terrorist attack. The bosses decided that we needed more agents to deal with the threat of that magnitude, and Clover was recruited. Because she had been a test subject in H's experiment, we knew she had the ability to access the morphogenetic field, and we wanted to put that ability to use. After several months of training, she was sent on her first mission. She would be tasked with the infiltration and investigation of a Myrmidon cloning lab. I was assigned to be her commanding officer. I hoped that our investigation might also give me a lead on my father's whereabouts. At last, I had a chance to find out what had happened to him. I wouldn't let that chance pass me by. Perhaps that was what kept me from noticing the truth. The whole operation was a trap. The lab was fake, and Clover was captured almost immediately. I got there as fast as I could, but when I arrived, the building was only an empty shell. All the conspirators who had pretended to be researchers and the like had already fled. I searched frantically for Clover until at last in the basement room I found her. She had been tied to a chair, but on the floor next to her was another body. It was my father. He looked as if he'd just been dumped there, and when I got to him, his body was already cold. Damn.